receive up to a $100 deposit bonus on your first deposit. Find out why best ball is blowing up and kill some time over the NBA All-Star break by drafting some early 2022 teams.
Our members weren't the only ones shipping this weekend. Huge congrats to our very own JSU on his 150K hit in NBA this past weekend. You guys can catch JSU's favorite NBA plays nightly in our NBA Court Plays that you will have access to with a Run Pure Sports premium membership.
Sign up today for a premium subscription to Run Pure Sports and take advantage of our combo deal with SaberSim. Access our content for all sports in addition to SaberSim's revolutionary DFS optimizer and projection system for one low monthly price.
That is it for this week. We will be back with more updates after the NBA All-Star break. But in the meantime, make sure you guys subscribe to the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel to get alerts on all of the content throughout the break. In the meantime, let's keep running pure.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood show. It's the last one before the All-Star break. Should be a good time. We got 5 games to break down. We're sweating out the golf, and we got tons of stuff going on over here at Run Pure Sports. We also have a Showdown golf show that's going to be tonight on the YouTube channel at 10 o'clock, so be sure to check that out tonight. Let's go over to Hoop first. Hoop, what's your thoughts on the golf so far, the NBA slate, and tell us a little bit about the Showdown show tonight.
Yeah, golf is, it's going. It appears that the early guys may have a little bit of an advantage. Have to give a shout out to our boy AP, who's on Jordan Spieth, who's out to the early lead.
Hey, let's not jinx him. Let's not jinx him. We all know what can happen.
So far, so good. Scotty Scheffler right there. Man, going your boy Scheffler. I did get back on Scheffler. He's like single digits owned this week, so that was pretty wild. But it's a good event. Looking forward to that. And like you said, we got these free Showdown videos starting tonight. It's going to be me and Snyder tonight breaking down the round 2 Showdown stuff. We'll go through the content that we have to go through the entire field and talk about it, and potentially look for that little edge that might be the case this week where the early guys have an advantage. So we'll talk about all that. We have a UFC card on Saturday. We have Daytona 500 $1 million prize pool or Millie Maker on DraftKings this week. So tons of stuff to keep us entertained this week, and while the NBA is on a little bit of a break.
Yeah, we'll have tons of stuff for you guys. We also have the Keg live show, which that's going to be free this week on the Run Pure Bets YouTube channel. So be sure to check that one out. If you do want to check that out, what happens is you get to find out the NASCAR winners and then sign up for only $40 a month to be able to get those. So be sure to sign up for that after, you get all your winnings on Sunday, because I'm sure the NASCAR team will be printing there. We have tons of stuff over here at Run Pure Sports. So be sure to go sign up right now. AP, we'll go over to you. Obviously, Jordan Spieth starting off well for you, so that's nice to see. How else is the golf going, and are you excited for this NBA slate and the break?
Yeah, definitely excited to dial in this slate tonight. Golf off to a decent start so far. Also very high on DJ, so was leaning on the course history here, and he's in this afternoon wave that's kind of struggling right now. So we will see what happens with them, but no, I mean, NBA has been fun. We gotta have a big night tonight, end with a bang, help everyone out, win some money. And I think we have a nice slate. A lot of stars on the slate. Luka. We got Giannis and Embiid. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
Yep, should be a lot of fun. Excited for this slate. And we have a lot of the news already, which is kind of interesting. We don't have it all, but it's one of those slates where, Hoop, leading into the break, we typically have just tons of news that could be flying. Do you expect anything interesting to happen tonight, or do you think we have most of the news so far, Hoop?
I mean, we're really not waiting on anything. I mean, we got the Rockets news. We got, the news that Jimmy Butler's going to play or most likely going to play. Anything really that does break from here on out would just kind of be a surprise, because everything we're really waiting on, we have anything substantial. So yes, something could pop up and change the slate. That's like any NBA slate. But in terms of specific news that we're waiting on, that's significant for the slate, I'm not seeing any.
Yep, it's definitely going to be interesting to see if anything comes up. But for now, it seems like it's a clean slate. Guys, if you could hit that like, subscribe to the channel. We got 69 likes, so let's get them up. We are at 189 watching. Excited to kind of break this slate down with you guys and talk about it. But before we do that, we got to talk about the members never win segment, which of course, we joke about because the members, they've been crushing it at Run Pure Sports. Obviously, JSU, we'll start with him. I know he's not a member, but he is one of the coordinators that does the Up to Lock show. And if you don't watch that, what are you doing? It's a great way to kind of lead you up to lock and give you the best information to finalize your lineups. JSU won 152K in NBA, and he hit that live final seat in the head-to-head that he was in. So congrats to him on that. Russell D07, he won 10K in EPL. Sick with it, 5,700 in NBA. Offensive username, 11K in NFL. D freshman is 44K in the NBA streets. Just to Joe 2U, 161K for that Super Bowl in the NFL. And then Hunter R, 58K in MMA. It's not just NBA. It's all the sports over here at Run Pure Sports. And we got tons and tons of content for you leading up to the next set of NBA games. So you're not going to just be left, with the NBA package sitting there not able to do anything. You got all the sports to be able to wager on. And like Coop said, there's $1 million contest for NASCAR. AP, there's also Golf Showdown. I'm sure you'll be in the Golf Showdown streets. And on top of that, we'll have all the golf shows next week to help you get set up for the next tournament while you're waiting for NBA. So AP, why don't you run through real quick some of the PGA schedule we have? We already talked about, we got Showdown golf shows. We'll have them all weekend long for the people. And then what about next week? Why don't you give the people the golf schedule for next week?
Yeah, our normal golf schedule, obviously, but yeah, like you said, we're doing showdown videos tonight for everyone. Tonight, Friday, Saturday, and then next week, strokes game. We got all of our usual shows. So I don't know. It's going to be a good time. Like PGA right now, it has to be one of our hottest sports. So we just got to keep those winners dialed in.
Yep, we're going to have a NASCAR show on Sunday, so that'll be a good time, and we're going to have some NHL shows too next week. So stay tuned for that. That'll be awesome. Excited to kind of give you guys all that content, and we're not just going to be here for NBA. Don't worry. And then once NBA is back, we'll be dialed right in and ready to go. Let's kind of jump into this slate though and talk about it. It's a 5-gamer, so we might go through this thing quick. So again, like I say, guys, like the video so we can get those going for those plays of the day, and then subscribe to the channel because I already talked about it. We have a ton of different pieces of content coming this week on this channel. So what are you doing? You got to subscribe. That way you can get notified when the shows go live. And if you don't want to get the notification every single time and you're sick of all the dinging and dinging, just all you got to do is just turn that off. But whenever you go to the YouTube channel, it's right at the top of your screen. It's easy to click on, easy for the process. That's how I do it. But let's dive in and let's talk about this slate. First game up, the Miami Heat and the Charlotte Hornets, where this is definitely an intriguing game. Jimmy Butler is 8.8K. And in a matchup against the Charlotte Hornets with a 226.5 total, I don't think he can go ignored on this slate. He's got that small forward and power forward eligibility. And then you got Bam Adebayo at the center position, where every center against Charlotte feels like they just dominate. And he's 8.4K, which sort of feels pricey, but last time out he had 49 against him. So it's certain that he can like pay off that price tag. And it's a shorter slate. So sometimes it's nice to be able to lock in those center points there. And then on the Charlotte side, we've been playing some of these guys, but this is not one of the most ideal matchups. Like LaMelo Ball at 9-4 in a matchup against Miami. I think no thanks for me. I think there's other studs I'd rather go up to. Terry Rozier, like same thing. I think he's fine, but I worry a little bit that I know the Heat are on the road and I know you're not supposed to predict blowouts, but Charlotte sometimes when they lay an egg, they can lay an egg. And this feels like a matchup that's just not that easy for them. So I like the Heat a lot more than the Charlotte side. Hoop, let's go over to you. What are your thoughts here on this game? Because Montrezl Harrell, he's there at 5.3K and he's someone that can help them off the bench because I know that bench unit isn't as strong and they kind of been trying to play a tighter rotation. Do you think Harrell is good enough to be able to help this team keep it close with that second unit? Because I think this Miami Heat team is just a bit too much.
Yeah, it's not the greatest spot, going against this Miami Heat team. They're dedicated on defense. They play hard on defense. And, we've seen these totals for the Hornets in the 235 range, 236 range. This one's down to 226 because of the matchup with the Heat. Montrezl Harrell, I think, is actually pretty interesting tonight in tournaments on this 5-game slate. If they're going to give him the minutes and 29 minutes and 33 minutes, Harrell's always been a guy. As long as he gets minutes, he's productive. He's getting the minutes here. He'll get blowout run if there is. I'm not saying there's going to be a blowout, but he would get that run too. I think Harrell's is a strong option, 5.3K. Likely not all that highly owned. A lot of these optimizers and projection sites are going to be slow to react to him playing 29 and 33 minutes. So I think he's interesting. LaMelo, I think these guys are better plays on FanDuel. He's 8-8 on FanDuel, 9-4 on DK. Same with Terry Rozier, 8-2 on DK, 7-5 on FanDuel. I think you can play him over there. On the Heat side, it's very simple for me. Kyle Lowry on FanDuel, he's still pretty cheap, 5.6K, so $1,000 difference between the two sites. I think Kyle Lowry is a fine option at 5.6 on FanDuel. And then Jimmy Butler on both sites, 8-8 on DK. We're looking at 9-1 on FanDuel, fine option. I mean, they get the big bump here facing this Hornets team that plays fast and not much defense. And then Bam Adebayo as well. I think he's a strong option. Center is pretty loaded, though. We have some very strong center options. So Bam, probably my least favorite of the Miami Heat guys. But you're going to want, I think, some exposure to Miami today in this spot against the Hornets team that just doesn't play all that much defense. Highest team total, I believe, their second highest behind the Clippers, 116 points. So I definitely want some Heat exposure here.
Yeah, I definitely want to get some Heat exposure. It's definitely a good game to go to. I'm curious to get your thoughts here, AP. We got some people in the chat. They're saying Bam is going to eat, and I agree. This is definitely a really good spot for Bam. I see PJ Tucker at 3.5 popping on stuff, and that's when you know the value is not like the greatest value on the slate. I mean, there's some. I think this late game, the Clippers and Rockets, has like some of the best value, and some of it we don't really even know exactly who's starting. So I think that's going to be an interesting part of this slate. Like 10:30 is when that game starts, and it's on an island. So you kind of have to prepare for it. You don't have other swaps to go to. So what are you doing with like a value play like a PJ Tucker, a Jimmy Butler at the top, a Bam Adebayo, and then some of these other Hornet options?
Yeah. So, I mean, Bam, I just man, he put up 49.5 like in 29 minutes against him last time out. He's been playing phenomenal. 50, 43, 46. The other thing, too, to think about the last time these teams played, Tyler Hero was came off the bench, played very well. So I think we got to keep an eye. Like, there isn't a lot of news that we have to track up to lock, but Caleb Barton, questionable. That could be a value piece at 3-1 that we play. He'd be a guy that, would get some decent usage off the bench there. If he's out, you could look at Gabe Vincent. He was a guy that got quite a bit of extra run as well. So you can only play him at the point guard spot. That's one of the issues. And there are some really nice guard plays on the slate. But this spot's pretty easy for me. Like Bam, tons of interest in him. I've already bumped his projection way up. Jimmy, a fine play, but I think if you go Bam, you probably want to go elsewhere. I don't think I want to play Bam and Jimmy together. Like, I could see them going off. Like, I feel like Bam could go off and then Jimmy's going to get you like 45, 46 if he does, where, maybe you get 200 more for Kyle Kuzma to get you a little bit more upside. So for me, it's Bam in this spot. I feel very good about him. PJ Tucker, I don't know. I don't really play him when you have, when he's in a spot where he's not going to have to really do much to run the offense. They got Bam in there. They got Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. Now, if two of those pieces were out, sure, I'm going to have some interest in PJ Tucker. Otherwise, all he's really doing is standing at the 3-point line, and you're waiting to get some shots from him. So I'll probably be off of him. Love Bam though, and I'm going to keep an eye on the Caleb Martin news. And I'm off all of the pieces from the Hornets. So they're all still kind of priced up. Really tough matchup here. I feel very good just fading all of them.
Yeah, and one reason I mentioned the Tucker thing is he's just 3.5, right? And sometimes like on these gamers, like that's I see people in the chat like questioning it too. It's like sometimes on these 5 gamers, you just need like super deep punt values. Now, of course, there are guys in the later game that could become value plays, but like we don't know who they are, right? So sometimes locking yourself into that value is not the end of the world, and sometimes it's helpful. So
and those are risks that you take on these smaller slates, like the 5-game slates. You can endure a cheap guy doing nothing more so than on like an 11 or 12 game slate where you're probably going to need your whole lineup to go off. These smaller slates, especially, I mean, we're always for playing the cheap guys and taking the risk, but especially on the smaller slates where you can get away with, a bust in your lineup or a snowflake on DraftKings in your lineup, like you can do it on the smaller slates opposed to the bigger slates.
Yep, and there's just not a laundry list of power forwards that you love on this slate. Like so sometimes whenever I say to people, "Oh, power forward sucks," they're like, "Well, you have this guy." And it's like, "Well, that's it. Like I don't have it. Like, you need more. If you're 150 max, then you got to put someone in the power forward spot." That's one thing I like about Jimmy Butler is he has a power forward eligibility, and I think that's pretty valuable. Hoop, do you think that matters there in that spot? And then also, I want to get your take on Yurt-7 because again, these slates we talk about having just absolute punts are really nice to have. And I think center is deep enough where you could see Sengun playing twice. And I think Drummond's pretty good, but he's only 3.2K. And in his 15 minutes last game he played, he had 22 fantasy points. So and it's Charlotte. It's one of the perfect spots where even if Yurt-7 got 15 minutes at 3.2K, I think you get 20 plus fantasy points and be on the winner if that's how the slate is kind of structured with the values.
Yeah, I mean, deep tournament play for sure. If you're only making a few teams, I would not include Yurt-7, but the dude's a stud. Like when he gets minutes, he produces. And I had some bold takes on Yurt-7 when Bam was out, basically saying they're the same player, which I kind of still agree with. It's just a matter of the minutes. Like how much is he going to play? He could potentially play like 0 minutes, so there's risk. This is a guy that's a 150 type play. Be fine employing him in those sort of contests.
Yeah, AP on the heat map, right? If you're playing, there's a big $4 today, right? 150 max. I'm sure there's some people that are maybe taking shots on it that don't normally like. Would Yurt-7 make the pool for you as like just a deep dark guy on a 5-game slate, AP?
Yeah, like if you're playing a double center build, maybe, or if you're going like Giannis, Luka, I could see that making sense. Playing the blowout script there. I mean, what do you need? I bet if you put like a 22 projection in on your optimizers, I bet he's going to hit a ton of builds, and I bet you're going to get a bunch of Luka, Giannis type of lineups. I'd probably play Yurt-7 over like a PJ Tucker. I just think in the right script, he's a guy that at his price maybe opens up a little bit more. So yeah, actually, it's a good call. I added him to the heat map there as just kind of a deep tournament play.
Yeah, like everyone will play like Hartenstein over him, right? At 3.6, and like who's to say Hartenstein definitely outperforms him? And I'm not saying Hartenstein's going to be super high owned, but center is an interesting position today. We'll definitely have to talk about it. And we'll talk about it going to the next game. The Wizards and the Nets, which is one of the games to definitely target on this slate. It's definitely one that I'm going to like. I've been riding the Seth Curry train. Played him the last 2 times. I think this is Seth Curry's offense right now. I also think that Patty Mills, he's an older guy, kind of break it down a bit. It's right before the break. It's easy for him to yield to the new guy and let him get more comfortable to the offense. That's important for their success. So I think that it's Seth Curry over Patty Mills right now, pretty easily, but I think they're both in play. Bruce Brown is a fine option, I think, in this game. The only concerns I have with him is I think he does have he's got a really nice ceiling, but here's the downside of he's playing next to Drummond where he gets a lot of production through his rebounds. And you saw last game, he didn't have as good of a game and Drummond crushed. And then the game before that, he had 50 and Drummond didn't play as well. So that's definitely a big issue there, I think, between those two guys that you might have to worry about. Drummond is 6K. I think he's going to be someone that's on a lot of people's radar at the center position because of what he did last game. And now it's a Wizards matchup where they like to play bigger and it's a pretty good spot for him. And we've just been pounding these Wizards, it feels like. I mean, Kispert is a young guy that's been getting some run. Caldwell Pope, pretty points dependent, but he definitely, if the shots fall and he grades out as a good play. Kyle Kuzma at 9K. 9K feels expensive, but maybe it's not enough in this role. Who we talked about with a lot of guys this year. Like there just seems like there's so many players that are popping up in like these new situations and they seem like they're just still too cheap. And the question is Kyle Kuzma too cheap right now? What are you doing with him in the rest of this game?
He's too cheap on FanDuel at 7.7K. The 9K, I mean, that's a big boy price tag, and he's got to come out there and do quite a bit to pay it off. It's just so hard when we have the 3 big guys on the slate. We have Luka, we have Embiid, we have Giannis. Like, if deciding between like a Kuzma and one of those guys, I'm going to find the money to get up to the big studs. I think there is some downside at 9K, but at 7.7 on FanDuel, it's too cheap. The secondary pieces here, strong plays, KCP. Kispert just continues to play a ton of minutes, just a matter of if the shot falls, kind of scoring dependent, but he's played 35, 33, 31 minutes in his last 3 games, 4.3K on DK. I'm fine going to him. Raul Neto, I think I have a little bit of interest in as well. Probably stay away from the bigs like Thomas Bryant stuff. I'm just not going there tonight. And then on the Brooklyn side, I agree with you. It's like this is Seth Curry's team in terms of offense. It's going to run through him and he's been very good in the first 2 games. The price has not come up at all, really. I mean, I don't even think it has come up. He's 5.5K. I think he's a very strong option. 6K on FanDuel. Fine deploying him on both those sites. The next guy that I have interest in is Andre Drummond. 6K on DK, 6K on DK, 6.6 on FanDuel. The problem with Drummond, though, we have a lot of centers. We already talked about one last game in him, Bam, and there's more that we'll talk about as the show goes on. So Drummond, I do like. The minutes are somewhat concerning, but we know the story of Drummond. He doesn't need to play a ton of minutes. He played 23 last time and got 42 fantasy points against the Knicks. So he can go off in a short period of time, which keeps him in play. James Johnson, as long as he starts, 31 minutes last game, 32 minutes, 30 fantasy points. He's a solid value as long as he's still in that starting lineup. And then Patty Mills, like the person that's suffering the most from Seth Curry kind of taking the reins here is Patty Mills. And like you said, a little bit older guy, all-star break. Like, I think he's just letting Seth do his thing right now. So I'll pass on Patty Mills. Bruce Brown, maybe as a last guy in. I mean, we saw the upside a couple of games ago against the Kings where he went off for 52, but came back down to earth last game with 19 fantasy points. So definitely my favorite is Seth Curry. Second would be Drummond. Third would be James Johnson on the net side. The Wizards are a strong team to attack tonight too in terms of these value guys. KCP, Kispert, Neto, and then Kyle Kuzma's too cheap on FanDuel. So a lot of plays fantasy-wise in this game.
A lot of different ways you can go, and the James Johnson call is good too. He will get the minutes. It's just the one thing I do worry about is like he feels like one of those like first guys that could leave the court for just like someone else random and mess it up. Same with Bruce Brown. Like you just would not be surprised if someone else slides in there and just messes up the rotation. That's one of the concerns with the Brooklyn Nets on this slate is like Steve Nash just kind of tweaking with the rotations a little bit. And your guy just kind of like maybe he gets in foul trouble and then just like someone else slides in there and he just doesn't see the run. That is always a concern with the Nets. So that's something to think about when kind of building out your lineups. AP, let's shift on over to you because this is definitely a game that we got to get your take on. Kispert is someone that at 4-3, I like what the Wizards are doing right now because they're just saying, hey, like we're mailing it in. We're just going to rebuild, it seems like. And Kispert's a guy that they're going to start giving run. Like this is someone that's going to play 30-plus minutes probably the rest of the season, get shot attempts because he's a rookie. And when we see these situations going forward, this is just how it works in March NBA, which we're getting up to. You got to be playing these guys. Their prices are too cheap. And I think he's one of those guys that the price is going to continue to go up. And it's a good matchup. You got Kyle Kuzma at 9K. I mean, you've been on the train with him. I've been on him. It's been a good ride. Wondering if you're going to him. And then what are you doing with these Nets? Because Drummond is going to be a key piece at 6K that I think is a good plan. Seth Curry just keeps absolutely crushing. And I assume he's going to be pretty chalky again on this slate.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing with Drummond last night, I was watching that game. The Nets were down by 18, right there, I think, right around the top of the fourth quarter. And Aldridge, actually late in the third quarter, Aldridge and that second unit really played well and brought them back. And Steve Nash, kind of a player's coach, went with the hot hand. So Drummond, did not check back into that game. If you looked at the rotations from the previous game, it looks like he would have gotten another additional 4 to potentially 6 minutes. So if you add those minutes on top of what he had, you're looking at 26, maybe 28. But him and Aldridge right now are definitely, splitting time. When one is off, the other one is on. So I do think it's still a risk, but you have to think maybe Drummond is the guy that's a little bit fresher here since that second unit really had to play that entire fourth quarter with that comeback. The same could be said about like a guy like Bruce Brown, as well. So I don't mind going back to him. He does seem like, like the guys running the offense on Brooklyn. It's definitely Seth Curry than Bruce Brown. Patty Mills really is more of a, get the shot up type of guy. And then, James Johnson, I have interest in him as well. The Wizards side is like a little, I think, risky as well. Ish Smith, Neto, guys that are really splitting minutes. And then Kispert, he's playing a lot of minutes, but his price is up. He's 4-3, or I guess, he was like when we were looking at him, he was like in the 3K range. But, it's a big difference. A 1K above, like when he was playing the Kings, he was 3-3. So he's a guy that'll under project. Like if I land on him, fine. If I like the other pieces in this build. But, you could get the same potential production out of a guy like Luke Kennard, who's 3-3 at that same position tonight. So really, I do think that there's going to be pieces that crush here. I feel decent about Andre Drummond. I do worry about the rotation. James Johnson feels like a very strong value, but like I don't think it's like the absolute smash spot. Like I think there's risk with Kyle Kuzma, even though he's been crushing. I think there's potential risks with Seth Curry and some of these other guys just with that overcoming the 18-point deficit and stuff. So I think it's a good spot, but it's not one I'm just like over projecting and getting all in on.
Yeah, I think the one interesting spot, is because he's power forward eligible, that could help if you're just kind of going low at the position. So, but it just depends how you kind of build out your lineups. And the other good thing you called out with the Kispert thing, AP, is he's 4-3, and there's a lot of guys in the 4K range in this Rockets game. I mean, there's so many mix and match guys. I mean, Batum is 4.2K. Zubac is 4.7. You got Kennard, who's 3.2, cheaper than that. You got Schroeder at 4.4. I'm not trying to just talk about this game, but you get what I'm saying. Like, if you do lock yourself into that, well, maybe that's locking yourself out of one of those guys from that game and some flexibility. Like, maybe if you have like a Sengun in there because you think he's going to start, maybe you want to put in a Dennis Schroeder instead. So you have a 2v2 pivot instead of having a Kispert. That's just things to look at with your lineup to give you a little bit more flexibility if you think the guy's great out at similar plays. So I thought that was worth calling out there. Hoop, any final thoughts on this game, or you want to move on to the next one?
It's a solid game for fantasy. I mean, it's only a 5-game slate, and there's, I don't know, 6-7 plays that are very viable. So I mean, it's a game that you need to have some exposure to, I think, tonight, for the size of the slate and how good some of these plays are.
Yeah, AP, would you agree? Is this like do you think this is the number 1 game or number 2 game on this slate? For me, I think the number 1 game DFS wise, it feels like it's the Rockets Clippers, but it could be this Nets and Wizards one. It feels like they're kind of 1A, 1B. What's your thoughts on that, AP?
Yeah, I mean, I like pieces from each game. Kind of interesting. Like I think there are pieces like in each game, and so I don't think like maybe a game stack here is going to be what's contrarian, because I see myself grabbing multiple pieces from different games. But I will have to say, like, from a price standpoint, in which game will I have the most exposure to? Probably Rockets Clippers. Just when you're looking at Schroeder, Reggie Jackson, and different cheap price tags on guys down in that game.
Yeah, for sure. We got a question in the chat from Jordan. He says, looking at the heat map, is the solid option a better play than the GP filler? What's your thoughts on that there, AP? So you can give a little update on the heat map and tell the people a little about it too.
I mean, so this is like what's always like the whole grading thing. Like, people love the ranks. Okay, people love the you got to have like a grade on it, and I wish like I could get this right, like, but people, I've said they like the GPP or the. So for me, honestly, it's like the core play tags. That's the plays I like the most. The solid plays. That's the plays that I like. After that, and so it kind of goes from core play all the way to GPP filler. So that's how I do it. I mean, I don't know how, like, it's basically, if you look at the GPP filler, I mean, it's like, if you're building 150, would you mind, like, if this guy lands into a build? Sure. There's different build. Like, I don't want to like necessarily talk someone off that play if they find the right combination and that's the piece that they need to make it work. So that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, Hoop, I'll go to you with this. Someone in the chat is talking about how AP has nothing on his shelf. So AP was going to put something on.
I got no trophies.
what would he put up there? Would there be like a Cheston Hadley, maybe a picture up there, autograph from him? What are some DFS things you could see AP having up there?
Definitely Justin Thomas. Something Justin Thomas has to make its way up there. Cheston Hadley, Cheston Hadley probably number 2 for sure. But I think overall it's got to be like Justin
maybe
Thomas.
Bertans. Look at a little Bertans poster.
Big sexy Bertans.
You got to get cheap stuff too. And I'm working on it. I got a bunch of books.
This is what's got to be AP. Mahomes on one shelf, Kelsey on the other, Tyreek Hill on the other, and then all the golf stuff over there. There you go. That makes the most sense.
Yeah. No, we'll get it done. I got nothing that looks good up there yet, but we'll get it done.
Yeah, you can't force it. As it comes, you'll get some good stuff up there. I'm sure there'll be a Pat Mahomes poster or some Chiefs stuff coming soon. But that's it for that. Let's check out the likes. We're 154. We got 418 watching. So yeah, definitely let's get those likes up. Again, 154, 419 watching. And also we got to get those plays of the day out. We don't want to just get out of here, and we don't want to get JT Hayes on you guys. I mean, when we had JT here, the likes were moving, and JT will not like seeing that. So let's get those up and subscribe to the channel, because we were talking about it before. We're going to have a ton of different content this week. There's no NBA, so we're going to make sure to have some Showdown golf. We'll have NHL stuff. We'll have NASCAR stuff. So subscribe to the channel. Hit that red button. That way you can get notified when we go live, and you can catch all the shows this week. But let's move on over to the next game and discuss it, where it's a game that I'm not excited about. I'm curious to get your guys' takes on it. It's the Dallas Mavericks and the New Orleans Pelicans, two teams that made trades that have kind of shaken up their situations and made it a little more difficult to roster. It's a 216.5 total. Dallas are road favorites. AP, I'll go to you first, since you like the Dallas Mavericks, and you got to talk about your boy, Mr. Davis Bertans. He's 3.3K, and solid showing for the first game. Only played 13 minutes though, which isn't great. But if the minutes went up and you told me he was playing 20, I'd probably have some interest at 3.3K. What are you doing with Mr. Bertans, Luka, and the rest of the guys in this game?
Yeah, I mean, Davis Bertans is he's fine. Like, this is the perfect fit for him. I'm just telling you guys, this is a dude that can absolutely stroke, hits a ton of shots from 30 feet. Now, are we playing him in DFS? I mean, if I was playing 150, I might grab a share or two. But the rotation is obviously a huge concern. But they were feeding him. I mean, in the 13 minutes he got a 26% usage rate. He was, loving that type of role. I do think he's a guy that's going to help Luka, help stretch out the court for Luka. So, I mean, their Mavs are doing it right. Like, I think they got some upside here, just, building this team around Luka Doncic. And he's the guy I have a ton of interest in tonight. I mean, this dude, I think, is the top spend up. What he's doing is just incredible. He had a 67 piece, 76, 75, and a 79 not too long ago against Philly. So I like the spot here for Luka. The problem is like, I don't really like anyone else. Maybe, if Reggie Bullock is out, you could make the case to go back to like a guy like Maxi Kleber. He's a guy that's been shooting the ball pretty well. But they got Dinwiddie. Like, this rotation's like deep and really unfriendly for DFS outside of Luka. So I think what you do is Luka, if he doesn't hit your builds projection wise, then you move on. And then run it back. Okay, so CJ McCollum, like I think he's really embracing this move. He said New Orleans was the place that he wanted to go. He wrote that whole long blog post, and I read it. It was a pretty nice message, thanking Portland, but he's really embraced it, and he's looked good. Put up 57, 42, 52 over his last 3 games there with the Pelicans. So, and no one's been playing him. So I played him a little bit, and he's always under 5% owned. So if you're playing tournaments and if you're multi-entering, I wouldn't mind, trying to get like a Luka, CJ McCollum mix if you want to. I do think that's going to be hard to do on the slate though. But outside of him, it gets pretty tough. So I'll probably be under on the Pelican side. I mean, okay, I got one question for both of you guys. Jackson Hayes, it looks like if you look at the rotation last game, played 29 minutes there against Memphis. I mean, this was a guy that they were starting for a little bit. They really like him. Is he starting to take some minutes from Joval? Are you guys looking at him at all on the slate tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it, I think it was last week, the first game that McCollum was in. I was like, if Herb Jones starts, I'm a little bit worried about Valanciunas, because Jackson Hayes has earned a role. He's been playing so well, and that's kind of what has happened. I mean, you look at the minutes. He played 29 last game. Valanciunas only played 27. The game before that, it was 28 minutes for Valanciunas. So I think there is some risk in a guy like Valanciunas. Now, FanDuel has tempted us because they got Valanciunas all the way down at 6.4K. So, I mean, he's the cheapest he's been all season long. If he gets back to playing 30 minutes, just way too cheap. I like him on FanDuel. Would not play him on DraftKings, but Hayes has clearly earned a role here in terms of the rest of the Pelican stuff. Not all that interested. I mean, McCollum's looked great. I mean, he's going to be low owned, like you said, but 8-4. I mean, at some point, some of this has to flip back to like Brandon Ingram a little bit. But for me, I'm just going to avoid the Pelicans for the most part. Valanciunas on FanDuel, I think, is fine. Then with Luka, I mean, he's the only guy I think I can even consider on the Mavs, but I kind of prefer like Giannis and Embiid, I think, over him tonight. So this is just not a great game for me. It's just like Valanciunas on FanDuel, I think.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Hoop. I'm not in love with this game. CJ McCollum, you do bring up good points with him, but I do kind of agree with Hoop too. It's like, well, the price is up, and like, let's say Brandon Ingram pops off with a big game, then you can get hurt there. But it's just a game I'm like on these 5-game slates. Sometimes I just have games that I kind of cross off, and like I think this is what I'm trying to cross off right now. As crazy as it sounds, just doesn't seem like a game I am at least too interested. But I understand there are some guys that can get there, and there's some injury news that we're waiting on. It's nothing huge, but questionable tags on Ntilikina, Burke, and Reggie Bullock. So obviously we'll update stuff in the Discord chat for the people and let them know, what we think if the news flows in and it changes our opinions on it. Hoop, before we kind of go over to the next game, a couple things. One, I see you you mentioned the code in the chat. So talk about the code and obviously SaberSim that we have over here for the people so they can understand, hey, what is SaberSim? Maybe they don't use an optimizer. Maybe they hand build, which I think using an optimizer is very valuable, especially in NBA DFS. And then our likes, we got 2 games left and we're at 195 with 438 watching. So what's the number we want to do to close out the NBA trade deadline, or not deadline, the NBA All-Star?
Yeah, I mean, doing a pretty good job with the likes. Let's just get to 250. Make it simple. 250. Get to the plays. I was just looking up the Valanciunas thing. He did have 5 fouls in that last game. So I'm assuming that probably played a role in Hayes playing a little bit more. I don't know when those fouls occurred. I didn't track the game super close, but I'm guessing at some point he's probably in foul trouble, which caused him to lose minutes, which makes me like Valanciunas a little bit more on FanDuel at 6.4K. Just wanted to touch on that.
Is that the Memphis game you're talking
about?
Yeah,
was it early foul trouble? Do you know?
So I just pulled up the popcorn on it. So popcorn machine where you can look at all this stuff where K-Falik doesn't post the charts for the people. It's very hurtful, K-Falik. We need more charts. But we got he came out at the 6:55 mark, and then he came in at the 12-minute mark in the fourth quarter at 10:22, and then at 10:58 he fouled, and then he sat until 4:43. So yeah. He lost. Yeah, there maybe would have been a spot where he would have came out for like maybe like a minute or two, but like he definitely lost some of his rotation there.
Yeah, so I mean, he's probably still count on for 30 minutes. So the FanDuel price at 6.4, I do really really like. Just wanted to verify that. Yeah, and someone asked for the code. We had the big promo leading up to the Super Bowl, which was 56% off any monthly package, including SaberSim. It was only going to last a week, like we said, but now we still can run that RPS Heater 25. It gets you 25% off any package over here at Run Pure Sports for your first month. So if you head onto the website, plug in that code RPS Heater 25, it'll get you 25% off your first payment. And like you said in the opening, Mangone, includes everything on our site. We're not going to charge you more when new sports start. You get absolutely all our content for that one price. So yeah, come check it out. UFC this weekend, Daytona 500, massive prize pools across the industry. All that is included in your package.
Yeah, and another thing I want to call out is we probably will have people doing some NBA All-Star stuff too. Like I'm sure Big T will drop some of his player pool. I know he likes to play those different contests. He did it for the Pro Bowl. I've liked playing those as well. So we'll have to see. I know they changed up some of the formats. Like the Rising Stars one used to be one. I don't know if they messed with that one too much, but we'll have to see. Obviously, we'll be in the Discord chat helping you guys out with that, like we always do. But yeah, that's it for that. Let's move on over to the next game because I want to talk about this one. And this is where I think I'm going to some studs. This is where I think I'm using my salary. I think I'm definitely going to have one team that goes Giannis and Embiid. Like I haven't really tried to build it yet. I'm sure it's very difficult, but I'm going to attempt to for sure because I think this game could be a really good one on this slate. Both of these guys since the trade deadline, which it's not too long. It's been about 7 days or so. Embiid averaging 2 fantasy points per minute. I think Giannis is at 1.71. I mean, these guys in a competitive game, this is what you want. And I expect leading into the All-Star break, you expect the minutes to be safe for these guys. I'm assuming if they're going to play in this game, and this game should matter a little bit, especially for like seeding. These guys are going to want to be out there and playing. So I think a Giannis and Embiid stack, definitely a fun one to do, but not easy. There's some other guys too to like in this game. Like instead of CJ McCollum, I might go to Drew Holiday at 7-6. It is a Drew Holiday revenge game. So there you go. Hoop, your favorite, nice old revenge, even though it was forever ago. But I like Drew Holiday at 7-6. I don't think it's a bad route to go in a competitive game. Chris Middleton's at 7.8K, which like, that's another mid-tier guy that you could go to that I wouldn't hate as an option on this slate. Like, let's say you can't get up to the Lukas and the Giannis's and Embiids today. Well, you got to play some mid-tier guys, and Middleton could be one that's an interesting option here. And then on the Sixers side, it's tough to kind of roster Tobias Harris. It always seems like he's 7.1K over on DK, who maybe you have the FanDuel price tag. I don't have it in front of me, but he's typically kind of cheap over there. So let me go to you first. What's Tobias Harris's FanDuel price tag? Because he always kind of is enticing over there. And then what are you doing with this game as a whole?
Yeah, 7-7 on FanDuel, so more appealing, I'd say. Yeah, I mean the game's not great outside of Embiid and Giannis. I like both those guys. I think they're strong options. If deciding one or the other, probably going to be Giannis for me. Just more ways I think to get there. But Embiid's been great too, and I do like your idea of pairing these guys together in some teams, and maybe running that Washington value. The Washington value is how you do it. We have some cheap Nets guys too, so maybe you load up on Washington Nets game, leave out some of the higher price guys there, and then play Giannis and Embiid and see what happens. I like something like that. The other plays, Bobby Portis, 6'3" on FanDuel. I think he's in play. Middleton, if I landed on Middleton or Drew, I'd probably be fine on this slate. Wouldn't change too many things around. Tobias is way cheaper on DK, 7-1. So I don't know. I don't think I'm really going to play any of these secondary guys for the 76ers. I mean, the two clear plays for me in this game are Giannis and Embiid. Bobby Portis is probably the next guy in line for me on FanDuel at 6'3", and then Middleton, Drew. If I land there, I'm fine, but not the greatest game on the slate. I mean, I like the next game a lot more too, which we'll get to. So not going to be overexposed to this 76ers Bucks game.
Yeah, I kind of rank him as Embiid, Giannis, and Drew. Let me ask you about one more guy. Jordan Nwora at 3.3K. Like I think we have other guys like Luke Kennard is someone I'd rather go to, but again, he has that power forward eligibility where if you want to punt that position, like, I don't know. I think Nwora at 3.3 minutes have been better, and he's grading out not amazing today. And like the last couple of times he was pretty decent out there, and they might need his usage off the bench. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, a 150 play. Got extra run, obviously, last game because I believe they beat the hell out of the Pacers. So he played like 26 minutes the game before that. Giannis was out, so he obviously played some minutes there. I mean, in a close competitive game with the 76ers, if that is the case, he could only play like 14, 15 minutes or something along those lines. So I think a 150 type play for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at Nwora now, and like that first quarter, like he played 6 minutes in the first quarter, and then he played 6 minutes in the second quarter. So, I mean, hey, if you told me he gets like the 24 minutes and he ended up having 26 last game, but like at 3.3, I don't think it's crazy as a value. The problem is, again, we have some really good late values that you might have some more interest in. We have some earlier values that you might have some more interest in. AP, this is not a game that like when you open up the slate, you're not like, okay, I'm loading the boat on this game, but there's some good spend ups to go to. And there's a lot of spend ups and the values aren't as great. What do you think of the spend up options compared to like Luka? Because it's really, there's only 3 guys at the top you're really considering. It's like, it's Luka, it's Embiid, and Giannis. So like, how do you rank those guys and this game on the slate?
Yeah, I mean, I think about what Boston just did to Philly. Like when you look at this team, like I think we're going to realize how big of a loss Seth Curry was in helping them stretch the court out. Like the way you attack the Bucks right now is with guys that can shoot. We saw Buddy Hield put up 59 against him. We saw Josh Hart put up 50. We saw Malik Monk put up a big piece against them too. And then, point guards have had some decent games against them too. So like, I think all the focus is going to be on Giannis. I think they're going to do what Boston did, leave Thibault like wide open and the guy can't hit a 3. Like Danny Green is just terrible. Like I can't remember the last time I've seen Danny Green hit a shot.
Why does Danny Green still get run like in the NBA? Like what does he do? What does he do that's good?
Yeah, I have no idea. Like they need all right, we need to figure out who, like I think one of these dudes like Korkmaz or Shake Milton or Georges Niang is going to come off and hit threes and be the guy, the value piece that gets the additional run here, because that's the only way, in my opinion, that they're going to stay close or keep this game close. Like Embiid, like I don't think Embiid can do it alone. Like with how good Giannis looks right now, and with all the attention that Embiid is going to get, it has to be a guy, one of these guys hitting threes, and I don't think it's going to be Danny Green or Thibault. So like Tyrese Maxey, he could be the guy. He's had some monster games. I don't think it's going to be Tobias. And then it's, so if you're multi-entering tonight, like I would have Korkmaz, Niang, and Shake Milton kind of, in your lineups. And then, Embiid, obviously, if this game stays close, he's going to be a guy that we can go to. He's just having a phenomenal season. I believe this game is on TNT as well. So going to be, they don't want to come in here and get embarrassed again. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if they did. And then Giannis, I think, is again one of the best studs, obviously, on the slate. So for me, it really comes down to Giannis, Luka, and Embiid. And right now, I like it's like Luka and Giannis, but I can probably only play one of them. And so it's going to be tough. But I do think this is going to be an interesting game, fun one to target. I'm probably not on Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday. So it's really the studs here. And then I do like the Nwora call. I think that's really interesting, Mangone. But I got to figure out which one of these value pieces from the 76ers is going to hit some threes tonight.
Yeah, part of me just says, I mean, AP, could you just like fade those Sixers and not worry about it? And there's enough value on the slate to like not go to those guys. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's always the option too. I'm just saying, like, I think like one of these guys, like a Korkmaz, like we always like a random, if he comes off the bench and hits like, let's just say Thibault, misses his first three threes, which he probably will. Korkmaz, if he comes in and hits his first three, which he could, we've seen those random Korkmaz games. I don't think you may not even need to go there. I'm just saying I think it's interesting if you want a deep tournament play.
No, I get it. I mean, I like playing Korkmaz, so I totally understand it. So it definitely could happen. I don't really have too much else I think to say about this game. It's a game that I think you can get exposure to, but just don't like load up on it. Yeah, obviously the studs are there, but I think some of these values are a little scary. One other scary value that was mentioned in the chat, Modern Day Entertainment said Wesley is the guy if he starts. Do not play Wesley Matthews. That's one thing I feel very confident in saying today. If I could push my chips on something, I think that would be the thing. I would not be playing Wesley Matthews on this slate. And the reason why is the next game, which we get a huge gap in between games. We get a nice little 2-hour gap. I'm sure DK has loaded the boat on the Showdown slate. It's last time to get in there. People will be firing away. Rubio will have the playbook up for you. It's the Rockets and the Clippers, and definitely a good game to go to because the value is looking really good here. Dennis Schroeder, he looks like he could be getting the start here. Possibly he got it yesterday. Thought he was a good play. Kind of ran out of spots and I had a lot of Sengun. So I was like, okay, it's Sengun or Schroeder. And both were great options. I think that Sengun could also play, even though Wood is in there, you could see the double big man lineup. Would not be completely surprised. They could just go Jayshawn Tate and then have Sengun back him up. And if game blows out, right, it's a 10.5-point spread. Well, Sengun could get the blowout run too. There's a lot of ways that these value plays can get there. Like Jalen Green, he's 4.7K. We know what his ceiling can be. He's been pretty steady, getting like 20 to like 29 fantasy points. And if he pops off for a big game against the Clippers, which could happen, he's easily on the winner. I mean, there's just so many different ways that this game can go. Jayshawn Tate at 5.1 is intriguing. Reggie Jackson is an interesting option at 6.8. We know he's got a 50-point ceiling. And at that price, there's some guys that just can't do that. And he has the upside to do that here easily. Terrence Mann at 5.1K, really good option. Morris can chuck the ball up a ton. Zubac, 4.7K, another center to consider on this slate. And Nick Batum has been crushing it. I mean, last two games, 30-plus fantasy points, played over 25 minutes in each game, and they should need him in this spot. And I didn't even talk about Luke Kennard off the bench, who's really, really dirt cheap. Definitely a good punt option at that shooting guard position. Hoop, I'll go to you first. I rattled off a bunch of guys, and it's hard to rank them. I mean, they're just all in play, and it depends on the starting lineups. What are you doing with this game? Because it locks so much later, and we won't have starting lineup news. And I really think you just can't like plug in guys and then say, I'll figure it out later. You really need to have a plan when it comes to this game. What's your thoughts on that, Hoop?
Elite game for fantasy purposes. It's the standalone late game, 2 hours later than any other game start time. And then, got the big news, obviously, on the Rocket side with Porter likely out and then Eric Gordon out as well. big opportunity, obviously, for Showdown coming off a big game, 4-4 on DK, 4-3 on FanDuel, probably the best value play on the slate. And you got guys like Jalen Green, Jayshawn Tate, makes Christian Wood a stronger play, Sengun, like you talked about, a stronger option. You want exposure, heavy exposure to this Rockets team. It's not comfortable. I mean, the Rockets are a very bad team. I mean, they're a terrible team. A lot of uncertainty, but with all those guys ruled out, there's more certainty. They're still projected to score 109 points in this game. A few of these guys are going to have big games that you probably need in your lineup. So you want exposure to the Rockets. And then the Clippers, a team we typically try to avoid for fantasy purposes, fall into one of the better spots. I mean, they're projected to score 120 points tonight, starting to get some more steady production from guys like Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann, even Marcus Morris, Batum, like you mentioned, off the bench, Hartenstein, Luke Kennard. There's like 8 different Clippers guys that you can play. And this is a slate where, you're going to want to analyze your lineups going into those last games, see if swaps are available. Can you get off a popular guy and get on a less popular guy if you need to catch up ground? Even in cash games, look to make some of these pivots. The one thing I will say about the Clippers, they're actually better priced on DK opposed to FanDuel, which is typically not the case, but FanDuel got these guys priced up. Like Batum's 5-4 on FanDuel, 4-2 on DK. So a $1,200 difference. I don't think I'd pay the 5-4. Terrence Mann, 5-1 on DK, 5-9 on FanDuel. So these guys are kind of better priced on DK opposed to FanDuel, which typically is not the case. There's just a lot of plays here. I mean, there's probably 10 different guys that we can consider for fantasy purposes. Yes, some will be more popular. Reggie Jackson will be popular. Schroeder will be popular. Marcus Morris will probably be popular. Terrence Mann, Batum on DK. I mean, some of them will be popular, but that doesn't mean you need to avoid them. This is a really good spot, a really good fantasy game, and a really good way to send us to the All-Star break.
Yeah, a couple of things. You didn't mention Robert Covington at 3.9K. Like he's at 23, 26 fantasy points, only played 20-ish minutes. Like revenge game for him. I mean, he could easily get some run. Like there's just so many ways this game can go. Like if you feel like you're behind, like making a pivot from like a Batum to a Covington could maybe be worth it. So that's worth calling out because again, you'll have enough time to digest like, hey, like this is what's happening in the games. Like I'm in trouble in my cash games. I'm behind in tournaments, or maybe you took a shot on someone like in the later games and you're like, I could take more of a safer option here if you kind of took a shot on a 1% guy. So there's a lot of ways to play this one out. We got Title in the chat saying there's a member of the live show chat. He's giving away a ticket. So be sure to get in the live show chat right now. Definitely want to do that and try to get the opportunity to get that ticket. Also, AP in the chat, we got Noel Fan 17 said DJ back to even and Patty Rogers another birdie. Let's go. So he's all hyped about that.
Make sure Butters knows that Pat Rob got a birdie. There we go.
All right, let Butters know about that. But AP, dive into this game for me because there's a lot to like. I saw you were talking to K Fallick. I was holding hands, I guess, with K Fallick yesterday, liking some Dennis Schroeder. He got ahead of the curve on that. And
that was a really good call. I was in a spot where I'm like, I already had everything like perfect, and I liked where I was at, and so I couldn't really make any moves. And but if you made the moves, I mean, it was really sharp. So a very good call there.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a good call. And I think he took down like 10K in the late slate because of that. Maybe that was the night.
He's been killing the late slate, man. He's like every night. I mean, I'm waking up in the morning, seeing screenshots, and then him saying thank you to everyone, congratulating him. So yeah, shout out to K Fallick last night, another 10K.
Yeah, 10K is nothing to K Fallick, right? I mean, the water business is booming right now, right?
K Fallick wipes his ass with stacks of 10K. You got the white. When I think of K Fallick and 10K, I think of him and his white tee, just having a big stack of 100s, taking a dump and just saying here and flushing it. Dude is loaded. That water filtration industry, man. I'm telling you, we got to dump DFS and partner up with K Fallick.
Yeah, I mean, run pure filters. I don't know. We get some good names going with it. We'll have to find a way. But AP, break this game down for me because this is a great one. I mean, it's definitely a game you have to plan for. And like, is it one of those nights, AP? If you're in first place, do you think you win with no one from this game? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, I mean, I don't know how you build a lineup tonight without a piece from this game. I'm laughing now, so I I was talking about Cork Miles or whatever, and dude's not even in my player pool, not even on the heat map. And the reason is because the value is just better here. Like, I'd much rather play Luke Kennard, like a much better defined rotation. I will say the one thing with Ty Lue is these rotations are I mean, he goes with the hot hand, even Batum, like I needed him the other night. I had a, shot in one of the 3 maxes, and he didn't see the fourth quarter, and he was playing so good, and it didn't matter because Luke Kennard was playing good. Ty Lue went with the rotation that was in there. The one guy that I think his minutes are very secure is Reggie Jackson. He's been playing very good. I have a ton of interest in him tonight. On the other side, I think we go right back to Schroeder. I think those 2 plays are fairly obvious and very, very solid tonight. So I'll be very high on those guys. And then it's like, I think maybe if you want to get different in tournaments, a Marcus Morris type. So he's coming off a good game against Phoenix. Tough matchup. Took 17 shots. I'm not seeing like friendly projections on him. He's right in that 6'2" range. I think he's a really good tournament play tonight. We've seen him have, you don't have to go back very far to see a 45 plus DK point performance from him. So if you want to play tournaments, I think what you do here is you go with the Marcus Morris, or you go the route that Mangone was talking about, like the Rocco call. I think that's interesting. Luke Kennard, I think, is just at 3-2. Obviously very interesting. I think I'm going to avoid the bigs here. I just, Zubac, I don't know. I'd rather maybe take a shot on Sengun on the other side if because what they could do is roll Matthews to the bench, bring on the double big Sengun and Christian Wood. So that was a rotation that we saw not too long ago. So this is definitely a spot where you want to wait for the news. But the plays I feel most confident in, Schroeder and Jackson.
Yeah, one thing that you can do too, AP, you can put Zubac in your spot, and then that way you have $200. Like if you switch over to Sengun, you leave $200 on the table if your salary is zeroed out. That's one thing you can do. Another thing too is, like, let's say that you have Sengun in there and then he doesn't start and you want to get off him. Well, there's Nick Batum you can do. There's just so many different guys I think you can mix and match throughout. You only even have one spot. So there's definitely ways to plan for it, but you got to make sure to plan for it. We got 259 likes, 468 watching. So we got the likes of the 250. So we'll be giving out those plays of the days for sure. But if you haven't hit it yet, please hit it. We appreciate it a lot. Subscribe to the channel. We haven't mentioned it. We mentioned it earlier in the show. We haven't mentioned it in a while, but if you just kind of joined, we're going to have tons of content this week. We're going to have some PGA Showdown content tonight. Hoop and Snyder are doing a breakdown. Then we're going to have, on top of the PGA Showdown content, we'll have some NASCAR stuff. We're going to have some NHL shows. So subscribe to the channel to get notified when we go live about all of that. Hoop, I guess before we get into the plays of the day, give some final thoughts to the people on the slate, and I guess tell the people anything else that I kind of forgot before we kind of get over to the plays.
Yeah, solid 5-game slate to end the first half. I guess it's beyond the first half, but going into the NBA All-Star break. Little refresh, and we'll be back next week hitting it hard to finish out the NBA season. Hopefully some MLB right around the corner, but that's not looking promising with the negotiations and all that. But like we've talked about all show, we're going to have free Showdown shows for round 2, 3, and 4. So tonight, tomorrow night, and then Saturday night as well. Me, Snyder tonight. I know AP's doing one, Big T's doing one. Tambo's going to be on there as well. We'll have the round. I mean, the prize pools for these for the PGA, I'm assuming will be pretty big tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday. So we'll have the playbook, core plays, all that stuff, and then we'll have the shows. We got UFC on Saturday. I think it's a full card, and then Sunday Daytona 500, massive prize pools. Great NASCAR team here. Matty Ice, Coop, and our boy Mikey cover the entire all the races. I think there's some smaller races too this weekend as well. So a lot going on over here at Run Pure Sports. You can use that promo code RPS Heater 25 for 25% off your first payment.
Yep. Sign up now. Definitely time to join the movement. All the sports going on. It's going to be a good time. AP, let's go to you first. Let's get your play of the day for the people. Who do you got on this 5-gamer? Who is your play of the day?
Yeah, this one could get vetoed. I got 2 in mind. I don't know if I'm going to play the other one. So I do know I'm going to play this guy, but I'm going to go in this first game. Let's go Bam. Obviously smashed in this matchup last time, 8-4. If you're trying to get 2 studs in your build and you're playing Bam, it's going to be difficult to do. So maybe a little contrarian, but probably not, because I think he's a smash play. So I'm going to go with Bam.
All right, well, no veto from me. Hoop, how about you? Any veto on the Bam?
No, it's good with me. I don't think it'll be super highly owned. There's some center options, so no, it's good. I like the call, Bam. For the rich parents play, I'm going to go to the Rockets. Actually, a guy that we didn't talk about all that much, but I do like him quite a bit. Jayshawn Tate, 5.1K. We've seen him have some pretty monstrous games this season, coming off a 36 fantasy point game. I think he can step up and have some more ball handling responsibilities as well tonight. So give me Jayshawn Tate as the rich parents play of the day.
All right. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I mean, it's a 5-gamer, so it's hard. I'm not trying to give out I don't think I have anyone that's like down in like the 2% range or anything, but I'm going to go to an uncomfortable spend because I think I'm going to have some exposure to him. Let's go for 9K Kyle Kuzma. He drops 50 again. The Brooklyn Nets matchup is good, and it's such an uncomfortable tag that I think people are going to have trouble clicking on, and I'm doing my best to get exposure to him and do it in a nice little Nets stack. I think it's a good route to go. So let's go with Kuzma at 9K as the play of the day at the top. But that's going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us here. Don't forget, PGA show on this YouTube channel tonight. So subscribe to be able to check it out. 10 o'clock, Showdown show. Then we got tons of content coming your way. So don't miss out on that. And also do not miss out on the Up to Lock show coming up next with JSU, BigT, Glock, Holden. They'll be breaking it all down for you here in about 15 minutes, leading you up to lock, bringing to those winners right into the NBA All-Star break. But we will see you guys later. For me, Mangone, AP, and Hoop. See ya.